Live. Hello, everyone. As you settle in, welcome, welcome. We'll be live on Facebook in just a few minutes.
How soon will it be on Facebook that we could go back and watch it ourselves?
It might be as soon as maybe 10 minutes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, doesn't
Thank
take
you.
long because I think it records as it goes along. Great. Welcome, everyone. We'll give everybody a couple minutes to come on in. And we'll just move forward. We are now streaming on Facebook. Excellent. All right. Well, welcome everybody to our ASG, Associated Student Government Town Hall and Forum for our candidates for Board of Trustees. Today, we have Dr. Edel Alonso, Mr. Fred Arnold, Mr. Jerry Danielson, Ms. Michelle Jenkins, Mr. Sebastian Cazares, and Mr. Tony Watson, all running for different seats on our Board of Trustees. And we are here to listen to what their platform is and answer a few questions submitted by staff, by students, classified and faculty alike. So we are really excited to see what they have to say and to see and to just inform us of what their platform is. So thank you, all of you, for being here. We really appreciate it. We are going to start with opening statements, and we will start with Mr. Fred Arnold. So Mr. Fred Arnold, the floor is yours.
Thank you, David. Right now, more than ever, David, the community is looking for leadership, and it's looking to the college to pave the way for that leadership. Many have lost their jobs. In fact, many of their employees, friends, their family members have lost their jobs. They're feeling maybe out of control or out of touch, and they've taken on all these new responsibilities for homeschooling their children, responsibilities for perhaps helping their brother and sister get through classes at home. Their responsibility of looking after elderly parents and keeping an eye on them. And the fear that they must go through of maybe losing their home or their residence where they're staying now. Right now, I think the college has an opportunity to help those hardest hit by the pandemic and the downturn in the economy. But we have to be a beacon of light. We can't be divisive. We can't be arguing. We can't be going at each other. We need to figure out how to come together without a doubt. And it starts with leadership with the Board of Trustees. And I believe I possess that leadership to help us get through that. But more than that, what about leadership in the classroom? And I think that's where our unsung heroes are. Those that are first in class, we call this college because of them. They teach our fantastic students how to achieve more than they ever dreamed of achieving because of their hard work. The parents that support and the family members that support these students, so we can have a first-in-class college. But it's going to require us to adapt to so many different changes, and it's going to be uncomfortable. You know, I think about the faculty recently that had to adapt. Their jam, their thing was teaching in class. That's where they were best. And all of a sudden they had to shift to online. Boy, all those faculty, they got trained. That's something to show how we're all contributing to adapt. But it starts with us coming together, which we have to do. And most of all, we all need to take personal responsibility on campus. Because if we take personal responsibility, the students will take personal responsibility, and it'll trickle all the way down to their family members. And so now more than ever, we need to come together, take personal responsibility. My goals are extensive. Number one is to listen as a board of trustee, listen to all the different groups on campus and listen to see how we can make it better. So today I'm going to share some of these ideas along with the other 5 candidates. And I thank you for the opportunity to be in here today. Thanks, David.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Arnold. We're going to go ahead and stop the timer and reset it. And next, we would love to hear from Mr. Sebastian Cazares. Mr. Sebastian, once the timer hits, I'm sorry, give me a second while we reset this. Great, Mr. Cazares, let's spotlight your video. And the floor is yours.
You got it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the Associated Student Government for holding this event. It's good to be back. Thank you so much to all of the candidates here, including my opponent, Mr. Arnold. I have tremendous respect for him stepping up and for everyone here for being dedicated to the future of our college. My name is Sebastian Gaseres. I'm a lifelong resident of Santa Clarita. I'm a longtime student advocate. I'm a product of our public schools, and I'm a product of College of the Canyons. I started my pathway in COC when I was just 4 years old at COC for preschool. I entered COC again for concurrent enrollment, experiencing the dual enrollment program hands-on when I was at Saugus High School. At Saugus High, I was an involved community leader, a student advocate, an academic, but I'll also be the first one to admit that sometimes I struggled in my education. Sometimes I struggled to do well in my classes. But what gave me the opportunity to excel, what gave me that opportunity to thrive was College of the Canyons. College of the Canyons is unique because it can provide first, second, and even third chances for people. And it was where I developed myself as a human being. At COC, I wasn't only just deeply involved in nearly every single program that we talk about on the COC board and the programs that we have set for goals for the future, like guided pathways, the first year promise, extracurricular programs, the transfer program, the honors program, all of these things on the ground. But I wasn't just a student. I also was an educational instructor working on the ground with our students and seeing them in the classroom and even teaching and tutoring them in online instruction. On top of that, I was resoundingly elected by the Associated Student Government. I was resoundingly elected by the student body to be the Associated Student Government President, presiding over a near $1 million budget, critical services, initiatives, and a variety of programs to ensure the success of our college and to fight for students' needs with everything I've got. I am running to continue that leadership and to fight for the students of my hometown with my heart and soul. This is an incredibly challenging moment, and it is not a time of normalcy. It is a time of immense suffering, of immense struggle for our students, and many of these issues that us students were advocating for prior to address either on a civic engagement basis, on local government, or on a statewide basis. They are being exacerbated by the pandemic. Mental health issues exacerbated. Student hunger, basic needs reform, student homelessness exacerbated. Retention rates when it comes to making sure that students are focused or transfer and completion rates, all these kinds of things have been completely affected in one of the most seismic ways ever seen. COVID-19 disruptions have caused the largest scale of disruptions to public education that we have seen in modern history. But in my view, now more than ever, and I don't think it's a radical demand, I think it is common sense to me, logical, to make sure that our students have a voice. For too long, we've been treated as if we are voiceless. For too long, students are often seen and not heard. For too long, we have never had an actual democratic say in decision-making for our school process or in government in general. And this campaign is a unique one that aims to promote that goal of empowering and uplifting our students, not just patting them on the back or telling them statements of support, but actually putting in institutional reforms to help them on their educational pathway and in every possible way that we can. I'm excited for what this debate holds. I'm excited to further discuss the ideas, and I'm incredibly excited to serve as your trustee for the Santa Clarita Community College District in Area 3. It would be an honor of mine to do such, and I am proud to be running a student teacher-driven campaign. For the first time, we've had official voices of the student body, from Tyler Robert Clark to Sarah Farnell to Basil Aranda to a variety of student leaders. For the first time, we've had members of the student body care about a school board election, care about the COC Board of Trustees. And we've united that with the COC Faculty Association. We've united that with the endorsements of part-time and full-time faculty and classified. We've united that with a statewide educator approach from the California Teachers Association to the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. So I believe my candidacy presents a unique opportunity to put educators and students first and not bureaucracy. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck to everyone else here. And I look forward to the rest of this night, and I look forward to talking about COC. So thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Mr. Cazares. Excellent. I appreciate you being here. Next, we will hear from Michelle Jenkins. Let me go ahead and spotlight your video. Let's see. Oh, how do I do this? Spotlight for everyone. And 5 minutes have started, and the floor is yours.
Are we ready to start then?
Yep. Let me go ahead and reset that really quick.
As David said, I'm Michelle Jenkins, and I'm running for a re-election to the College Board of Trustees. I have a passionate love for College of the Canyons. My husband and I began the college the year that it opened. We were, in many ways, the typical community college student. We were very young and had a child, and we were bright enough, I guess, to realize the only way we were going to make a success of our lives is to achieve education. And no one in our families had gone to college before, and certainly nobody ever graduated from college. So we were the first in both of our families to do so. And following in our footsteps, then subsequently, other family members, siblings, and our children also went to community college. So I'm really proud of the fact that at the time I was at the college, it made me laugh when Sebastian talked about starting there in the Child Development Center, because when I was on the board, I had a son who was a community college student, and I had a daughter who was 15 years younger who was in the Child Development Center. So my college student son every day would take her to the Child Development Center and drop her off. And so I've been involved and associated with and love the college for a long, long time. Based on that love is why I'm running for re-election. And I have a history of working well with students through the years. I've served with, on the state level in a number of capacities. I've been president of the California Community College Board of Trustees, the California Community College League. I attend conferences that are developmental conferences. Constantly, I think that's what makes me a good trustee, is I still learn things and I take the time to learn new things. And I think you can do that best if you interact with other people who are in the same profession. We haven't been able to do that in the last 6 months, but we'll return to that. And we've had online kind of Zoom meetings. I'm still on a committee that presents workshops and all for trustees on how to be an effective community college trustee. I'm really proud of that work. In addition, my husband, what he did is he went on to medical school. We both transferred to UCLA. He went on to medical school and established a private practice on Lyons Avenue. He's been in that office for 30 some years. And he's still working because he loves his job. He loves what he does. I help him by working in the office, and I also feel I contribute that way. But in addition, I do the college work because that's a very important part of our lives. And luckily, my husband's understanding about that. When I need to be at meetings, he accommodates that, and he has other staff that fills in. We, as I said, we're the very first in our families to go to college, and I'm proud of that fact. And after UCLA, I went on and earned a master's degree in counseling, and I worked as a community college counselor in St. Louis, Missouri. I worked at a campus there, and I have that experience too, working as a community college counselor. So I think I have a really well-rounded background and as far as experience related to being on the community college. And again, I think it's really important that I have been involved and contributed to these many statewide efforts. I've worked with a lot of students through the years, not only students at our college, but students that serve on the statewide committees. So I have a huge number of students who were student trustees at our college, but also I have students from other colleges who've provided endorsements for me because they're used to having worked with me and they know the kind of work I do as a trustee. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk with all of you, and I'm looking forward to being able to answer the questions. I thank you, those of you who are making the time to listen. I'm glad to hear that this is going to be available on Facebook and other people can listen going forward in the next few weeks. And so I will turn the floor over to the next speaker.
Great, thank you. We really appreciate you being here and showing support for our COC community. Next, Dr. Alonso, let me go ahead and spotlight your video. And the timer will start and the floor is yours.
Hello, I am Dr. Edel Alonso. Thank you for organizing this town hall. I am grateful for ASG's leadership and commitment to civic engagement and the democratic process. Let me begin by telling you a little bit about my background. I arrived in the United States not knowing a word of English, but I'm a grateful product of the American educational system. I'm now running for a second term on the COC board after a long career as an educator. I was a teacher and counselor at two very different high school districts, small and large schools, schools with great diversity, schools with racial strife and multiple gang cultures, schools in very poor areas and schools in affluent areas. I was also an adjunct at the university level teaching graduate students. When I moved to Santa Clarita, I became a counselor at Hart High School, then at Valencia High School before coming to College of the Canyons. Most importantly, I spent the last 16 years of my professional career at COC. I was a teacher and academic counselor, the MESA counselor, counseling department chair, a member of too many committees to list. I am most proud of having been elected by the faculty to serve 2 terms, that's 4 years, as the Academic Senate president. Because I was a counselor, I have spent a lifetime listening to student issues, concerns, fears, and struggles, and joining them in celebration of their achievements. I knew when I retired that I would continue to stay connected to this wonderful institution because I still wanted to play a role ensuring top quality education and support services for our students. My professional experiences plus my doctorate in education have given me a wealth of knowledge and an insider's understanding of education. So let me list for you my values, goals, and priorities. 1, the health and safety of students and employees on our campus. If you have studied psychology and know Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we know that we must ensure safety above all else because you cannot learn or work if you don't feel safe, both physically and emotionally. We must provide sufficient resources to support our students' basic needs with expansion of medical, nutritional, mental health, and social services so all our students can thrive. 2, address the low completion rate of our students and the low transfer rates to university. These rates have improved greatly, and my fellow trustees will tell you how proud they are of those figures. And though I am proud of our students who graduate, I'm always disappointed and think we can do much better. 3, ensure that all students have easy access, and that includes our disabled students who struggle courageously to navigate the campus and access all the learning opportunities. 4, provide support, respect, and appropriate resources to our teachers so they can concentrate on teaching and the optimum learning of our students. This means providing all the necessary resources to support the educational and career education programs, including services like academic and career counseling, internships and job placement, and collaborative opportunities with industries in our community. 5, ensure equity and fight racism at all levels. To do this, we must listen and involve all our students and staff. They must be part of the discussions and the solutions. We must honor their input, not just letting them into the room, but giving them a seat and allowing their voice at the table. 6, hold the board and the administration accountable for their actions by having annual evaluations, just as classified teachers and students are evaluated regularly. 7, practice transparency regarding fiscal matters, such as the budget and expenditures. Because we're a public institution, we have an obligation to the taxpayers. And 8, promote a respectful campus climate that honors the contribution of all students and employees and recognizes the dignity and worth of every single individual. Finally, in these difficult times, our college is a constant for many students and for this community. So we're working hard to make sure that we continue to provide the quality education that COC is known for. I thank ASG again for this opportunity, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Alonso. Thank you for being here. The COC community definitely appreciates it. Next up, Mr. Danielson, let me go ahead and highlight your video. And I'm resetting the timer. The timer's been reset. The floor is yours.
Hi, my name is Jerry Danielson. I'm the Teacher's Choice candidate for the College of the Canyons Board of Trustees, Area 4. Thank you very much for having this forum. I believe communication is at the heart of transparency and decision-making. I'd like to invite all the viewers to interact with me during this election process and after. My Santa Clarita roots run deep. I'm a graduate of Hart High School, College of the Canyons, and California Institute of the Arts. As a small business owner, I've made hard decisions. I know how to be self-motivated, take charge, assume responsibility, and manage money. I often foresee upcoming scenarios, make plans for them, and budget accordingly. I've also served for over 3 years on the executive committee of the Audio Engineering Society Los Angeles section, which includes Santa Clarita. As an educator, I know what it's like to teach, the rewards and challenges, and how to relate to the students, and be aware and responsive to the students' needs. I know firsthand what teaching and learning is like during online COVID-19 classes, and it's not easy. As an active member of the community, I have an experienced feel for the local culture. I've worked closely for decades with all walks of life here. There are people well off financially, and some are not doing as well. We have all sizes, makes, and models, people of color, LGBTQ+, and more. Increasingly, diversity is at the heart of this community, and everyone deserves a chance at bettering their lives. If elected in style and substance, I will also give a voice to our small businesses, the arts, and job training needs for all our families. My campaign for the Board of Trustees is inspired by my passion for affordable, high-quality education, transparency in decision-making, and the need for someone to genuinely represent our community, putting the students first. We are told what's possible and what's not possible. With a strong independent viewpoint, I want to change the conversation about what's possible. I've attended COC board meetings in person before COVID-19, viewed most archived meetings, and currently attend live meetings on Zoom. As a unit, one of the responsibilities of the board is to lead as a thoughtful, educated team. The board is supposed to review, update, and establish policies that define an institutional mission as a team. I believe the power of questions reveals one's values. Questions also allow the community to know what's going on by revealing the inner workings of decision-making and process. The way I see it, one role of the board is to monitor institutional performance and communicate as a bridge to the community, the administration, the teachers, and the students. Times are changing quickly. We are faced with unprecedented upheaval. We need to think outside the box and modernize with new vision and forward-thinking leadership. We often discuss what we want, what we need, and what we deserve. We want the college to inspire achievement, improve transfer rates, be adaptable, and provide additional and better job training. With COVID-19, unemployment is very high. Our families and our future depend on this. We need careful oversight and management of taxpayer money, which is, after all, your money. We deserve an inclusive and equitable college that serves everyone and listens to the needs of the students. And okay, I look forward to this forum and further discussion of a variety of all these topics. And thank you again for having this forum.
Thank you, Mr. Danielson. COC community is ecstatic that everybody is here, and including yourself. Next, we will hear from Mr. Watson. Let me go ahead. Yeah, let me go ahead and spotlight your video, and we'll get you on there. Great, and restart the timer, and the floor is yours, sir.
Perfect. Thank you, David, and thank the ASG for putting this on. I want to also thank everybody that tuned in to watch us. This is an important race. I want to share a little bit with you about who I am, why I'm running, a little bit about my platform, and why this race is important. My name is Tony Watson, and I'm running for seat 2 for the Board of Trustees. I've lived in Santa Clarita for about 40 years. I'm a product of Arroyo Seco Junior High School, Saugus High School. I received my AA in business at College of the Canyons. I then transferred to Masters University, where I received my bachelor's degree in organizational management. About 2 years ago, COC recognized me as a distinguished alumni, and I couldn't be prouder. My family, my wife, I've been married for 29 years. She was born and raised in Santa Clarita. I have a son that's a senior at UC San Diego, a political science major. I have a daughter that's a senior at Saugus High School. She'll be a freshman at COC next year. She was under a desk, pinned down on November 14, 2019, during the shooting there. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm running, is I listen to her and I listen to her friends and how the educational system and their life has just completely changed. My business background, I've served as a local business leader here in Santa Clarita in several different industries, in banking and retail operations. I was the chief operating officer of Andy Gump for 13 years, and I currently work for United Site Services as the vice president of business improvement. I also have ample board experience. It's always been taught to me and my family that you give back to the community that treats you so well. So I've served on the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce, of the Child and Family Center, on the governing board of the Boys and Girls Club, Centro de Amor Cristiano, and William S. Hart baseball and softball. Part of my platform is to ensure a quality education, whether it be online or whether it be in the classroom. I want to make sure that our campus is student safe and comfortable from COVID, from violence, and from racial discrimination. I want to make sure that we're putting student success up first, and that includes access and affordability. But ultimately, my goal is to make sure that their COC education for our students leads to good quality jobs, whether our students go on to get their advanced degrees or whether they use vocational training to land the job that they want. I think it's important that their education leads to good quality jobs. This race is important because for me, COC is always, at least for the last 30 years, has been on a steady increase and a pathway for success. Community advocacy is something that I believe that I can bring to the table from a training standpoint, whether that be internships or just my partnerships with local businesses and nonprofits. I believe that can benefit the students. I believe that also can benefit our local businesses. And then fiscal responsibility. I have the leadership experience to understand how to read, how to implement a budget, how to manage a budget. I believe in transparency with that budget. I believe in holding myself accountable, and I believe in holding others accountable. So I believe that that leadership will lead through. I want to thank everybody for the time today. I want to thank the other candidates that are here, and best of luck to you all.
Great, thank you. That's going to do it for our opening statements today. Following up, what we're going to do is throughout the last month, we've been pooling questions from different faculty members, different students, classified members, and the community at large from Santa Clarita and COC. And so the following questions are from that pool. These questions were shared with the candidates ahead of time, and they were all sent to the email that was registered when they registered for their candidacy. We wanted to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to thoroughly go through these questions and give us their vision as they see it. So we're going to start off with, we're going to start off with Dr. Alonso. So let me go ahead and showcase your video. Okay, so Dr. Alonso, the first question we're going to ask today is, what is your knowledge or perception of the climate on campus? And what direction do you think the college has been moving in recent years? Is there anything that you think needs changing or needs to be addressed in a different way? And if so, what and why?
Thank you for that question. The college has done over the last several years a series of surveys of its employees, both faculty initially and then faculty and staff both, asking them questions about their feelings about the campus climate. And if you look through them, it's interesting to note that people are very proud of the school, people are very proud of the students, but there are also comments that are a little disturbing because there are some people, and I don't have the figures in front of me, but who feel that somehow their input is not valued, that they don't have an opportunity to participate as much as they would in the decision-making process. And so I would suggest that we do a campus climate survey that perhaps can go out to every single employee, including the administration and the part-time faculty, the full-time faculty, and the classified faculty, but that the survey is conducted by an independent third party so that there is no question about any biases or anything like that. And I think that could reveal a lot of information that would be useful to us, not to point any fingers at anyone, but certainly to make sure that we have correct data from every group on campus. And then jointly, all the groups come together to address whatever concerns there may be from individual people. Because even 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 people who are not happy is not good enough for us. So that's my feeling about campus climate.
Great, thank you so much. Next up, we're going to have Mr. Arnold. Let me go ahead and reset the timer. And spotlight your video. There we go. And the floor is, so same question, Mr. Arnold, and I'll repeat it just in case. What is your knowledge or perception of the climate on campus? What do you think the college, what direction do you think the college has been moving in recent years? Is there anything you think needs changing or needs to be addressed in a different way? If so, what and why? 3 minutes starts now. The floor is yours.
Thanks, David. As an outside business person, I talk to people every day about the college. I'm fortunate enough to be on the foundation for the college, and I hear nothing but excellence coming out of the college. I hear nothing but success. I hear nothing but my wife just got a nursing degree, and now she has a job locally. I hear a lot of positive coming out of the college, but does that mean we can't get better? Absolutely, we can get better. I know with collegial consultation, and it's something we're going to talk about, everyone has the right to be heard. And so Dr. Alonso is correct. Absolutely, we need to hear from everybody. It's recommended that 4 students, 4 staff, and 4 faculty be on each committee. Absolutely, but we need to go deeper than that. We need to make sure we have diversity on those committees and solicit feedback. So let's talk about feedback for a minute. Feedback is not blame. Feedback is not criticism. Feedback is just information. And we need to continue a culture of feedback and not a culture of blame. That's really critical in us moving forward and people feeling free to give information. Accountability is critical, and accountability amongst each other is critical. And if you have peers, you don't have to call them out, but you can give them feedback so you both can be better. We talked about diversity with committees. I do want to talk about one thing COVID's done that's really going to help, and that is a lot of meetings now are held via Zoom, where before they were just on campus. So it'll allow more people to participate in committees and in hearing having their voices heard. I want to recommend to the ASG. It starts with you. I want to empower you to reach out to all those different committees and seek out feedback. Give the information to the Board of Trustees so good and positive change can be made. And so, yes, we can always get better, David, but from what I'm hearing, the teachers are doing an amazing job. The faculty is just out of this world, producing great students, and we're moving forward, and we're considered first in class throughout the country.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. I'm going to go ahead and reset that again, and we will be moving on to Mr. Danielson. Mr. Danielson, I'll go ahead and highlight your video. Oops, there you are. With Zoom, everyone's video always moves around, right?
I know.
All right, so the 3 minutes have been reset. I'll go ahead and ask the question.
Okay.
What is your knowledge or perception of the climate on campus, and what direction do you think the college has been moving in recent years? Is there anything you think needs changing or needs to be addressed in a different way? If so, what? And the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. It's a great question. So I have researched this topic before this when I decided to run for this seat. In the year 2016, there was a climate survey, and the categories were divided into disagree and neutral and agree, sometimes strongly agree, sometimes strongly disagree. A couple things that jumped out at me was one of the topics was listens to people with diverse opinions. And in 2016, that rating was 47% agree, which means the rest were either neutral or disagree. Regarding transparency in decision-making, there was only 28% that agreed that there was enough transparency in decision-making when it comes to, according to this climate survey. So there were a few other things too, but those are the two that come to my mind right away. There was a report written after that stating that those things should be worked on, particularly the transparency, because 28% isn't that great. There should be more transparency in decision-making. So fast forward to 2019, when there was another climate survey taken, the transparency level went from 28% to 20%. So only 20 people agree that there's enough transparency in decision-making on the campus. And that means the rest were either neutral or disagreed. And the input from diverse opinions went from 47% to 33%. So part of your question asks, what direction is it going? And in my view, that isn't going the direction that it should go. Of course, everybody's happy with the campus, but those kind of things can affect morale, for instance. And I believe that more transparency is very important, because not only do the teachers, but the students and everybody around wants to know what's going on, wants to have good morale. And so hopefully that kind of thing can be turned around. 35% of the people surveyed feel that the college values them as employees. So again, those numbers could be fixed, I think. And so as a board member, I would look at those things, and particularly the transparency, just unveil what's going on, and let's just have everything out in the open and make the college a perfectly great place. Although it already is one, but there's always room for some improvement anywhere. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Mr. Danielson. Next, we will have Mr. Watson. Let me go ahead and highlight your video. All right, and the timer's been reset. The floor is yours.
Great, thank you, David. I want to reiterate a little bit about what Fred said and talk a little bit about some of the results at the college. It has been on a steady pathway to success. It's one of the best community colleges in the state of California. We have some of the best staff and the best faculty in the state of California. It's also one of the most diverse community colleges in the country, ranking right around 25th of minority population, 50% of our students are of Hispanic descent, and that makes me proud. Now, I still think we have some room to grow there. We have some of the highest transfer and graduation rates in California, but that I'm not satisfied with. I still think we have an opportunity to grow there. I think with the continued growth of our Canyon Country campus, our university center, that continued growth with the right leadership is going to take us on that continued plan of success. Now, as far as the perception of the faculty and the students, sitting from the outside, I see a lot of pride. I see our students are very proud of where they go to school. Our faculty is proud of where they teach. And with that pride, it comes a strong desire to get involved. And some of our students and some of our faculty may or may not be involved. Some of them that are involved may feel that they're not being heard for the committee that they're in. Either there's some strife there. So I think there's some opportunity for me as a Board of Trustee member to help sort through some of that red tape, to help decipher some of those communication issues so that our staff and our students can be heard more. From that continued success, I think we need to continue to have more inclusion from the staff and the faculty. As a Board of Trustee member, it's important that we're listening and that we're understanding what our students' needs are so that we can continue to meet those student needs. I think it's important that as Board of Trustee members, that we're open, that we're transparent, and that we have a humble style of leadership, and that's something that I've always practiced. From the board itself, I think we do have some opportunity, and I think there's a little bit of a disconnect on the board. There seems to be a little bit of lack of respect, a little bit of lack of communication. Need some better teamwork on that Board of Trustees, and we need to do away with personal agendas and focus on student needs. Our students are trusting in us to rise above and be the leaders. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. I really appreciate that. Next, we will be going with Ms. Jenkins. Let me go ahead and spotlight your video and reset the timer, and the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm pleased to answer this question. You know, I think that, first of all, there are a couple qualifiers to campus climate. It depends on who is doing the survey and what kind of instrument they're using, because the results of the surveys vary. We don't do anything at College of the Canyons, and I think most everybody who's there realizes this. We do nothing without huge amounts of data. I remember when Diane Van Hook was first hired and recommended we needed to hire an institutional research person who was in charge of research. And we did do that. Many colleges don't have that kind of an individual. I find that the information produced by that office, because they are research professionals and they know how to answer questions and how to analyze the information, those are pretty reliable and they're pretty accurate. Others are not. It takes a certain level of expertise in knowing how to ask questions and knowing how to analyze the results. So some of the other questionnaires perhaps don't get at that as easily. And sometimes when somebody says, I apply to be on a committee and I never get chosen, unless we know the context of what committee they applied for and what the application process is, it's really hard to know what that means. We are a very collegial college. People participate in all levels. I think what happens sometimes is the participants that representing either their office or their constituency don't always get back to the people that they're representing in a timely way. And maybe they don't close that loop of giving the information to the individuals that want it. So I think probably that might be part of the issue too, is that people don't hear what the results are, and so they don't know what has been done, and so therefore they don't think that there is transparency in our decision making in general at the college. And I think, as everybody has said, we can always improve, but it helps if when people have a dissatisfaction with their service on a committee or their participation on a committee, that they go to the chair of the committee and let the chair know, so that the chair can maybe um, ameliorate that person's perception of their input is not valued. The other thing I find is that that people who are giving opinions about things, unless their opinion is taken and utilized and acted on, they don't think they have been effective, and they feel that they've been cut out of the process. That is not necessarily true, because we also take opinions from a lot of individuals. When I say we, I mean the administration who's in charge of the daily operation of the college.
So your time has run up, but you can go ahead and finish your thought and take the next.
That's all. And so I think there's a lot of hidden elements to this question. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we'll have Mr. Cazares. Let me go ahead and highlight your video and reset the timer. And I'll reread the question. What is your knowledge or perception of the climate on the campus? What direction do you think the college has been moving in recent years? Is there anything you think needs changing or needs to be addressed in a different way? If so, what and why? The timer has started. The floor is yours.
You got it. Thank you, and appreciated a lot of the previous responses. There's a lot of concerns there that I echo. I want to answer this question on 3 levels. First, on the Board of Trustees level. Second, on the various employee groups level, and third, on the student climate level. Now, when I say what I say, right, when I'm about to describe and what I'll talk about in this town hall, if I critique College of the Canyons, I critique it out of love, right? I'm not saying that our institution is not excellent. It is clear. The metrics, our degree and transfer completion by county level, all these kinds of things. It's clear that we're a wonderful college, and I wouldn't be before you today without it. I'm literally able to be running for office and being able to be at the public university I am because of the college. But I think that there are ways that I saw actions that were in contrast to the excellence that a college should be at. First of all, on the Board of Trustees level, I have much respect for many of these individuals for building the college for what it was. But at the same time, when I served as the student trustee, as a proxy for the Santa Cruz Community College District and presided on the board, I thought that there was a clear disconnect between the thoughts, the opinions, and the realities of the student body and the Board of Trustees. I thought it was almost very seismic and to a point where it was very blatant. And I think that is very important. And not just that, but I think conduct and how you follow the Brown Act, how you follow public participation, and the climate you create to foster public participation and governance and to make sure everybody has their voice heard is incredibly important. And that we need to create a climate on the Board of Trustees that embodies cooperation, collaboration, and so on. In regards to employee groups, as was said before, it is clear that whether it has been either the recent classified staff survey when they talked about how COVID-19 disruptions, they felt like they didn't have enough of a voice in decision-making, or whether it's a variety of faculty climate surveys, feeling that a budget isn't transparent or decision-making is transparent. It's clear that these issues are happening and we need evaluations and teamwork, and we're only going to get through it together. Now, I do agree, of course, we can't blame, and I have a particular, fondness for all parties at the college. I had a pleasure working with administration and academic senate and classified staff and all of them who made the college what it is. But we have to realize that there are specific plights that often aren't addressed. There are specific plights, for example, that part-time faculty endure having to drive between 3 campuses and so on, or not feeling like they're being respected in certain aspects. Now, on the third thing, I'll briefly mention student climate. Now, this is something that, obviously, the student body is very diverse and has different feelings on things, but connectivity is key for success, especially now with an online transition. And we've seen online education, one of the biggest challenges is because community college is often preferred because of that emotional connection you can get with small classrooms. This isn't just on a classroom basis, but it's on a campus-wide basis where we have a disconnected campus climate and culture that has negatively, I think, impacted a lot of engagement and success for our student body that I would like to explain in depth further if I have the opportunity to do so. Thank you.
Does anybody object to letting him finish his thought?
No.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So just I want to briefly say, of course, a lot of these are systematic issues. Commuter campuses are more likely to not have the level of student engagement, say as a four-year. It only makes sense. But at the same time, on one end, the college recruitment process is very intense and has been more intense than it has ever really been in decades. And the high school recruitment process has created a stigma around COC. Even though COC is a great institution, before I entered COC, I was actually kind of taught that COC was like a backup plan or like a not good institution. That's totally false. But there are a lot of cultural things that are happening to our student body that discourages campus involvement. I think there's a variety of ways where we don't have a student op-ed piece, or I think enough student thought and opinion. We don't have opportunities for students to provide feedback. I feel like there's a lot of ways that clubs have difficulty establishing themselves.
Mr.
I could go on. I don't want to talk too much.
Yeah, so you're gonna. Okay, thank you. Next up, so new question. We're going to start with Mr. Watson. Mr. Watson, let me go ahead and spotlight your. We're going to reset. And the new question is, COVID-19 has turned life upside down and inside out, and the closure of campuses statewide has affected many students. As a Board of Trustee member, what would your vision be for a safe return to campus for students, faculty, and staff? The timer will start and the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, David. I think I'm actually one of the well prepared with this particular question. I work for a company that has 110 different locations, and we have more than 1,100 essential workers. At the outbreak of COVID-19 back in January and February, myself and our Senior Vice President of Safety got together and we tackled COVID head on. I'm in charge of writing our best practices for our company, and I quickly put together, or not quickly, but I put together and implemented a thorough plan. I also partnered in with state, federal, and international agencies like OSHA, Cal OSHA, PSAI, to rewrite their procedures regarding what our essential workers do to enhance and secure their health and safety on the job. I'm proud to say that of the 1,100 essential workers that we have, not one of them has contracted COVID on the job, and I'm proud of that. But COVID is a challenge. Our students want to come back to campus. Our parents want students to come back to campus. From a learning standpoint, it benefits students and it benefits the faculty to be back on campus. However, we can't do that until it's safe to do so. And we can't make that say so all by ourselves. We have to partner in with LA County and wait until they say it's safe to do so. We have to ensure that our students and our faculty are not only safe, but we need to ensure that they feel comfortable as well. But time is of the essence. It concerns me. Some of the things that concern me is for lower income brackets, without technology, without Wi-Fi, without a quiet place to take a class, without a quiet place to get their homework done. I'm concerned on how that's going to impact their education. It's also challenging on our staff, but I do give our staff a lot of credit. Pre-COVID, about 30% of our classes were done online, and now everything's done online. And I give our staff a ton of credit that went and took some extra training to learn how to teach online. Teaching online, that outside of the box thinking to engage their students has been fantastic. But it's hard sometimes for a faculty member when you have 25 to 30 black boxes staring back at you. So between that, first generation college students, I'm hopeful that we can get back, but I don't think we should do so until it's safe. Until then, what I think we need to continue to do is bridge the gap. We loaned out 1,100 laptops. We purchased another 1,000 laptops. And we have another order pending, to my understanding, so that we can continue to bridge that gap and meet those needs for those students.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Next will be Dr. Alonso. Dr. Alonso, same question. COVID-19 has turned life upside down and inside out. The closure of campuses statewide has affected many students. As Board of Trustee member, what would your vision be for a safe return to campus for students, faculty, and staff? I will go ahead and spotlight your video and reset the timer, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, David. COC is a public institution of higher education and therefore comes under the jurisdiction of several agencies, including the California Governor's Office, the state legislature, the California Community College's Chancellor's Office, the LA County Department of Public Health, who in turn have to follow guidance from FEMA and the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, and WHO, the World Health Organization. So we cannot make decisions independently because our funding is tied to these regulations. Nevertheless, our college is receiving constant updates from all these entities and is actually doing a good job transitioning instruction to an online format. Kudos to the faculty for having done that so quickly and so efficiently and so successfully. I also thank the classified staff who is continuing to do all the work behind the scenes that's so supportive to students and the teaching at the college. Our facilities workers who are disinfecting the campus, and the fiscal services department that orders all the equipment for our students. Tony mentioned the laptops, and I had the pleasure of joining on a Saturday to distribute some of those laptops. But it's not enough, right? Because some of our students don't have access to Wi-Fi. So not only must we distribute laptops, but we must make portable hotspots available to our students. I was told that, well, the students can come on campus, park in the parking lot, and use Wi-Fi there. But we've had very hot weather during the summer, and the cold will be with us soon. So that's not a solution. The college is also disseminating information and all those updates through a weekly online presentation that I watch regularly. Personally, I think we're acting very responsibly, having closed down, even though we had to by law, except for those this semester. And people may not know this, but we do have a limited few on-campus programs, and they are allowed because they're considered part of essential infrastructure training, such things as nursing, anything related to healthcare and technology and the food sectors. I do believe that this experience is certainly teaching us lots of lessons, and I think it will change education for a very long time down the road. It's creating a wider range of teaching formats that may continue to provide flexibility for our students and our teachers moving into the future. We all agree that the very best learning situation is in the classroom face-to-face. But we are an amazing group of dedicated people at that college who will do whatever it takes to teach our students. And I'm very, very proud of them, even during these very difficult times.
Thank you, Dr. Alonso. Next, we will have Mr. Cazares. Same question. COVID-19 has turned life upside down and inside out. The closure of campuses statewide has affected so many students. As Board of Trustee member, what would your vision be for a safe return to campus for students, faculty, and staff? I will go ahead and spotlight your video and reset the timer. The floor is yours.
I'll make sure to be on time for this one. So I think on multiple aspects, of course, always safety is always first. And like was aforementioned, we obviously are a public institution. This is public education. We have to follow a variety of safety guidelines. And oftentimes orders will be administered on a basis that collaborates with the California Community College system on a statewide basis, or whether it's LA County, whatever it may be. So there's a lot of decision-making sometimes that can be really difficult in this moment. But there's certain things that I think definitely need to be highlighted when we talk about a just COVID-19 transition. I was enrolled in the college actually during the COVID-19 first disruption, and I actually was presiding at that meeting, a very memorable meeting when the NBA shut down and the college had to be ordered to shut down. And I cannot describe enough to you how much anxiety was in the air for student populations. And this is a very, very important matter that we have to recognize on multiple aspects. The first off is the challenges of online education. Many instructors and educators had to go on to online education in a very fast period. And oftentimes they didn't have proper training for Canvas implementation or the things like that. And actually prior, there are students that said before that they prefer to have their classes to be fully integrated, whether it's the dashboard, the module, and so on their Canvas. And so we saw how that there was inequities persisting not only in the digital divide kind of perspective, how there's many students that don't have internet access or laptop access and all these things, but there was even a feeling of being rushed by so many educators and instructors of having to transition with it. Of course, obviously, we have to do with the best we can with the scenario at hand. But I think it's important to make sure that everybody has the proper online tools possible for address transition and to continue that. But not just that, we see that in a deeper analysis, there's a variety of factors of how education is going to be impacted even more. It is no secret, and I try to stress this a lot, and I hope that there's an equity question that I can expound upon this, but equity in education is a huge proponent of my platform and something I advocated for largely as ASG president, either in Sacramento or internally in other civic engagement bodies. And we have to recognize that students at California community colleges have higher rates of food insecurity and other things like that than the UC and the CSU. They're more likely to be working. They're more likely than other populations to be suffering from economic upheaval and even mental health and other issues like that. So on top of the burdens of online education being harder to maintain retention, on top of that, we're seeing these seismic systemic factors. And it's why during this moment, we need to advocate for safety, but we also need to advocate for programs to fully support students throughout their entire journey, fully funding the Mental Health and Wellness Center, fully funding the Basic Needs Center, continuing to funding essential programs for our students, and so on and so forth. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cazares. Next, we would like to hear from Mr. Danielson. Let me go ahead and showcase your video and reset the timer, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for the question. I really feel for the teachers and students coming into March. As March rolled around, there was a disbelief, and whether you accepted it or not, or whether you chose to do it or not, it had to be done. It had to be closed down the campus, and the teachers had to scramble. How do you do this online? Everybody had to learn Zoom in 15 seconds. You had like no time to prepare. How do you do this? The bookstores closed. Everything was a scramble. And the students, maybe the students who needed to be on campus, who can't be on campus anymore, are hit. The ones like homeless students, or what if you don't have a car and you can't park in the parking lot to get your Wi-Fi? Those things affect students a lot. Or when the students are at home, but Johnny, their little brother's tagging on their arm wanting to play dominoes or something, and there's all these distractions and there's all kinds of stuff going on. So it's a very difficult thing. And as an educator myself, I can see the frustration and how hard that can be. The teachers have to put in way more effort and energy to get the same point across on this black box kind of thing. So I would like nothing better than to see everybody return to campus. However, the safety of the students and the faculty are of primary importance. So there are laws to follow, local and state laws, health laws. We have to comply with all the health laws. We don't get a choice. Okay, we want to go back to campus, even though COVID is still a big thing. So we don't know when that's going to end, but it seems like it'll be clear when it starts to end. I believe, though, what the board can do is help set the tone and help decide what that looks like returning to campus. For instance, will it be incremental? Is COVID going to go along and then suddenly stop on a dime? I doubt it. It's probably going to sort of peter out after a while, for instance. I don't know, because nobody knows. But do we start some classes online while some stay, while some people go to campus? We don't know what that looks like, but I do believe the board can help give guidance and help make the decisions of how that looks. What percentage might stay online extra time? What percentage of people might be able to go to campus? Will there still be social distancing and mask wearing? Will the chairs have to be 6 feet apart? All that kind of stuff is still in play, and we don't know how that will play out. But we wish everybody the best in the meantime, and we'll be there to try to help as much as possible. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Danielson. And the next, Mr. Arnold, I'll go ahead and showcase. And we'll go ahead and reset the timer. And just so you know, you're on mute. You might want to, yep. All righty, and we'll go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thanks, David. Yes, we need to return to campus when the students, the staff, and the faculty feel it's safe, and it is safe to return. Not everyone's going to want to return to campus when we do. Not all students, and I know there's a lot that are eager to get back. So how do we make these decisions? Well, we have a playbook for that. Unfortunately, because we have fires, because we have earthquakes, unfortunately, because we have shooting, we have to do that training. We have an incident command team on campus where dozens throughout the campus are involved with, and every month they train. We need to make sure we go by that playbook. We need to adjust the playbook. My biggest concern is, and it's always the Monday morning quarterback, right? You could have, should have. Absolutely. I'm grateful that we closed campus so quickly. Wow, that might have saved quite a few lives. I'm grateful that the faculty adjusted so quickly. I don't see it as a complaint from them. I see it as their magnificence coming out. Yeah, their jam was the classroom, right? But they adjusted quickly, and the students had to adjust to save lives. So we got to commend them for that. But we have to be transparent in the playbook, and I will encourage that. I know that it was mentioned that the students did a great job, the staff did a great job, and the faculty did a great job. But I think there's also the administration did a great job in leadership and making decisions. Some decisions not being, if you will, and everyone liking those decisions, but that's what leaders do. They make decisions. In fact, others that make decisions around me, I respect the fact that it was made in the best interest of student success and student safety. As a board member for the Child and Family Center here in town, the largest center for mental illness, I know very well of the challenges that families are having. We did a purple walk this morning where we encourage those to come out and support those that are suffering from domestic violence and bring that awareness and bring that out. And so I think we need to support the Health and Wellness Center full-heartedly. It doesn't mean how do we fund it? What resources do we look for? We absolutely need to look at that because a lot of students and a lot of faculty are going to come back and a lot's changed in their lives, and we need to support them and the staff when they do come back. But we have an opportunity for some unique solutions. I mean, just think about those that couldn't go to class before because they worked hard all day, and now they can take an additional class online. We need to make some decisions on what's going to serve those that haven't been served before. And maybe this pandemic is a huge opportunity to create additional opportunity or reduce the inequalities for those that can attend, that have to work full-time, that have to raise children, that are single parents. So a great opportunity that I see that we have. And last but not least, if I could please share, when we first started our great campus, right outside the baseball field, we had some bungalows, right, where the classes were held. Well, the teachers would go outside because sometimes it was a beautiful day and conduct class. You know, I see us, we need to encourage when we do come back to campus to allow the groups, the alliances, and those support groups to meet on campus and socially distance and get together and support each other. And we can do it with so many different creative ways. We just have to play by the playbook and we have to support each other.
Is up, Mr. Arnold? Okay, but thank you very much. And Ms. Jenkins, let me go ahead and spotlight your video and reset the timer. And would you like me to read the question for you?
No, it's okay. You don't have to.
Excellent. And I'll set the timer and the floor is yours.
Okay. So the college, as everyone has said, it has to comply with what the governmental entities tell us to do. And that's what we've done. And Dr. Van Hook made that decision really relatively fast that that's what we were going to do. And that is a decision that's really difficult for people to have input to because we have to do what we have to do. And when the government agency tells us we cannot have in-person classes, save for a few, then we need to do that. I have a concern about it only because I was asked about this at the last board meeting. I asked the question about it. I think one of the things that we do need to do is kind of monitor to see, and the college, of course, is already doing this. I found out when I asked the question, to make sure that it's not driving students away to stop taking classes because I had a conversation with a community member who said their son was having a really struggling time with online. He just doesn't do well with online courses. And I can understand that there are some people that probably are struggling. But and I think it's important that we monitor that so that we can make creative adjustments. I was interested to hear what Fred said about the idea of encouraging people to meet outside. I think that's a great idea, have classes outside. We're fortunate enough in our area that we can do that probably even in wintertime. And so I think that's a good suggestion, but that's something that will be decided as we move along. And I think it's true that it's not all going to happen at one time. It's going to peter out. So thank you very much. That's my timer telling me I'm done. So I'm done.
Oh, no, you still have a minute.
Oh, I said it wrong. I thought it was 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Santa Clarita Valley has never had to deal with this before. And so it's a different situation. And I know for myself, I tend to be a very social person. I've had a hard time, staying inside and not having that kind of social interaction that I normally do. So it is difficult. And I understand those people who are having a hard time even with taking those kind of courses. But the most important part of the COC community is, of course, ensuring that the health and safety of our students and our staff, as somebody has already said, or several of you already said. So that's what we have to do. And we need to help them focus on their education the best way they can. And if we can come up with alternative methods of offering classes, even when we're able to bring the classes back, I think that's what we need to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that we are now halfway through our event tonight. After discussion, we will take a 2 to 3 minute break. This is a great opportunity for our esteemed invitees or our candidates to, if you need to mute your screen or video and take a sip of water or do what you need to do, please do so now. And I am going to put on just a short minute intermission here, and we'll go ahead and start the 3 minute timer. For those participating on our Zoom webinar, there is a Q&A button. We are not fielding live questions, but if you would like to ask questions, we will share whatever questions pop up on the Q&A with with our candidates, and they will address those questions offline. So if you would like to take this opportunity to do so, you may do that. Thanks. Okay, candidates, go ahead and show your screen once you are ready. Our time is up. Okay. Great. It looks like everyone is back. Welcome back. I hope that was a quick little break for you. I know it's I needed to grab some water myself. So let's head back, and we are going to just jump right back in. Like I said, we are halfway through, and we are going to start with Mr. Cazares. Mr. Gaseres, the question is going to be, and just so you know, you're on mute.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We are going to start with you, and the question is, in the past few years, political tensions and race relations have been tense across the country. What do you feel should be the role of a trustee to ensure students feel comfortable coming to class? And the timer has started. The floor is yours.
Absolutely. This has been one of the most divisive and polarizing times that our country has really seen. And Santa Clarita has actually completely transformed from what it used to be. When I was growing up out here as a kid, it is almost irrecognizable. But the reality is that our students are leading the causes for change. Our students have been fighting for change in the streets. And what we saw this summer, even though tensions are hot, we saw the highest level of civic engagement we've seen of our student body possibly ever. I was proud to be a part of that movement, and I was proud to be the first political candidate ever endorsed by SCD for Change, the organization that has been championing racial equity in a variety of aspects, and that believed in my message for the youth and students of all ages, including students of color. We have to recognize too that when it comes to equity and these kinds of aspects of what students of color endure, this is very relevant to California community colleges, including our institution. It was mentioned before that we are a Hispanic serving institution. That is true. However, leadership and a variety of factors and diversity do not reflect the diversity of our student body. To become a Hispanic serving institution, the federal designation is at 25%. We're at nearly 50%. And we are awarded HSI funds as well as funds from the Student Equity Plan passed by the general California community college system. So we need to make sure that our funding is actually going to equity-minded programs. Latino students, Latinx students, African-American students, but Latino students specifically, they actually show some of the most biggest aspirations of any student population on their goals for transfer, for certificate completion, yet their rates do not match that of the statewide average. So we're seeing a variety of students of color that are actually intending on transfer, but not completing them at the same rates is what we call disproportionate impacts. These are impacting our students, but the only way we're going to do it, it's much more than just diversity, and it's much more than just broad equity for all. Now, some educators and some equity-minded advocates have talked about, in order to ensure educational equity, we can't just do it in an all kind of platform. By that, I mean, there's oftentimes in education where equity programs are done in either all, identified, or more specific. And by that, I mean explicit. And so all means just equity-minded, that's it for everybody. That's proven to not really work or impact educational outcomes. Identify is when we say we're going to do something for, say, the African-American population, but we're not going to put any teeth behind it. When it comes to explicit equity-minded programs, that's what we need. When we explicitly put programs for specific populations, like curriculum, pathways, culturally relevant resources and programs. And I can personally attest to how equity-minded reforms helped my education. And Chicano studies at CUC influenced me to be a Chicano studies minor at UCLA, and it had a huge impact on my education. And I think we should expand that. And it was a class, honestly, that I needed for a very long time, and COC provided that avenue for me. And so we need to make sure we close these equity gaps and champion equity in our institution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cazares. Next, we'd like to hear from Ms. Jenkins. You are muted, so I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you as well and reset your timer. And the floor is yours. Oh, you're still muted. Let me go ahead and stop. Still muted. Let me see if we can unmute you somehow. Oh, not you. I'm sorry. It keeps changing. I didn't mean. There you go. You are unmuted.
I am
Okay.
now able to speak. Okay. All right.
Let me go ahead and restart the timer for you, and the
Okay.
floor is yours. The floor is yours.
Okay. So as a trustee, it's my responsibility to lead in this effort, I believe. And as a board, we need to lead in the effort to make sure that our campus represents fairly all of the individuals that comprise our community. And we do a good job among students in that respect. We do have a lot of Hispanic serving students in particular. We were one of the first institutions to institute special programming for Hispanic students and their families too, bringing their families on campus, because in that culture, it's important for the families to buy into the necessity of higher education. And so we have been successful in bringing the family members on campus and introducing them to the college and making them feel comfortable that their students will succeed at the college. And we've had that go on for years. It's probably a program that may be 10 years old. I'm not sure. It's a little more difficult when it comes to staff, particularly faculty, because unless the faculty are primarily responsible for hiring faculty, they are hiring committees. And, you know, people unfortunately, or fortunately, maybe, I don't know, but I think it's unfortunately, tend to look at people who are like them, and that's who they decide to hire. Our chancellor has been very good throughout her tenure of sending people back because to the top candidates that the faculty has chosen to ask the committees to open up the pool to a lower number, to a greater number of individuals. So our chancellor is a big believer in hiring on potential. And I think that's what, in particular, with ethnic minorities, you have to do that, because a lot of ethnic minorities haven't had the opportunity to get the higher education, maybe specifically in their field of expertise that they need to be hired. So sometimes you have to be able to look at someone's potential and do they have the potential to be a good instructor, and they certainly will be good role models for students, whatever ethnic group they're coming from. So I think that we try to do that as much as we can. And again, when it comes to faculty and classified, there's a bigger pool because there's more classified staff that we have. That's the largest pool of, and so it's easier to get ethnic minorities in those pools. But it's like I said, a little bit harder in the faculty pools. But I agree, we need to be more successful at it. And we have limited success in that area. And in the last few years, I think there are people we've hired and they've contributed, and they've actually created some programming for students that reflects their heritage. So I like to see that happening on the campus.
Great.
And
your time is up, Ms. Jenkins. Thank you.
okay, thank you very much. And I'm a real advocate of that. As I said, I think it has to do with the fact that I was a first-time college student. So although I'm not an ethnic minority, that was my kind of uniqueness. I hadn't had anyone.
We're going to move on to the next panelist.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem. The next person will be Mr. Arnold. Let me go ahead and spotlight your video. And we're going to reset the timer. And the floor is yours.
Thanks, David. You know, I want all students to feel welcome and safe when they come on campus. I think we have an opportunity to not only be an example to our community, but be an example to all institutions out there when it comes to this really important topic. We need to be an inspiration for those to speak up and share their experiences when they've been treated unjustly. That's critical. We need to create dialogue amongst different groups on campus to share the information so we can learn from it. We kind of learn from this, if you will, this silent, destructive behavior that perhaps some have experienced over the years. I think one of the greatest equalizer is not only just having programs, because that's fantastic, and having awareness, but it's actually having equity. And what does that mean to somebody? When they walk into a room, do they feel welcome? Do they see people very similar to them? Are there role models that they can follow that are African American? Are there role models they can follow that are Mexican American? Are there role models all over campus that can help them? And that's in our hiring practice. We need to take a deep look at hiring practice when it comes to that. When I was involved with the California Association of Mortgage Brokers, I was the president. And one of the things, there was a bunch of older, if you will, Caucasian males. And one of the things I really stuck to was how to create diversities. So we'd start looking at inviting everyone to be involved. And we changed not only the dynamic, but we changed other people feeling welcome to come on board. And we also changed opinions and thoughts and ideas because we got a different perspective. And that's really, really healthy. We need to lean on the ASG because they're the boots on the ground, if you will, to get groups to come together and share information. And you know, we have different groups, have them, if you will, collaborate. I do want to address one thing, and that's the Sheriff's Academy on campus. I think more than ever, we need our first responders. And instead of pushing them out, instead of criticizing them, what if we took a different attitude and we encourage change within that great academy that's there? We develop an officer and a sheriff deputy that has the training to protect themselves, protect all of our loved ones, but also protect those that they're arresting. A new breed, if you will. Instead of being resistant and pushing and saying no, how do we become part of the solution and become world-class, first in class when it comes to that? I say we look at solutions like that instead of just complaining. How do we come up with solutions that we can all agree upon? So strength is in diversity without a doubt. And as a trustee, I welcome it.
Great, thank you, Mr. Arnold. Next, we'll hear from Dr. Alonso. Dr. Alonso, let me go ahead and spotlight your video. And reset the timer. And the floor is yours, Dr. Alonso.
Thank you. You know, with recent events across the country, I'm happy to see a more robust effort in place at COC. For example, we've hired a director of diversity and inclusion who offers training. Also, the college has held town hall meetings for faculty and staff to air their past experiences on campus and their concerns and come together to propose solutions. And with the Senate and the board resolutions for a call to action in this regard. I'm happy to report that our faculty are especially committed to additional training, that they're reviewing curriculum for cultural sensitivity, for resources, as well as for equity pedagogy. But once again, I think we failed to speak directly to the source, to speak directly to the students and ask them directly about their own experiences on campus and involve them in the solutions. I almost feel that sometimes our students are the last resort or second thought. I'm proud to say that early in my career at COC, I, together with a handful of other teachers, approached the Academic Senate about the addition of a diversity requirement to the associate degree. And we remember well an impassioned speech I gave to the Senate because I thought it was so important. We were successful in getting the Senate to consider it, doing a lot of work to develop a list of courses that could meet the requirement. And finally, we were successful in making the recommendation to the board for approval. The need to address race issue is key to student performance. How we treat our students, how we respect them and make them feel welcome on our campus has a direct effect on their success or lack of success. As a board member, we must support all these efforts, set the tone, provide the leadership by example, and by holding ourselves accountable for achieving our goals in this area, including our hiring practices, in ways that can be measured so that we can be held accountable for it.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Alonso. Next, we will hear from Mr. Watson. And Mr. Watson, let me go ahead and highlight your video and reset the timer. All right, Mr. Watson, it's been a while since I read the question. Would you like me to read it again?
No, I'm okay. Thank you though, David.
Excellent. So your 3 minutes starts now. You have the floor.
Yeah, with regard to race relations and certainly with regards to racism, David, my stance is it shouldn't be tolerated at any level ever. And as a board of trustee member, I won't tolerate it. It's not how I was raised. It's not how I live, and it's not what I practice. And so if seen or heard at any level, I'll make sure that I partner with administration, that I partner with human resources to make sure that we rectify it immediately. I'll also advocate for fairness and equality across the board with all races, with all genders, religious beliefs. You know, it's all about accountability. I hold myself accountable to these things, and as a board of trustee member, I'll hold the chancellor accountable to these things. And collectively, as an institution, we need to hold ourselves accountable. Now, my work as a board of trustee member, it'd be to listen, to be compassionate, to be empathetic to students and faculty so that they feel safe, coming and talking to others, but also so that they have opportunities. I mentioned it earlier, and I also think it's worth noting some of the things of how we progressed. And Sebastian even mentioned it. We're a Hispanic serving institution. We rank 25th in the country. And that shows inclusion. And as a father of biracial children, and as someone that first learned to speak Spanish at COC, that inclusion makes me happy. But just like our graduation rates and just like our transfer rates, we need to continue to strive to do better in this area. As a board of trustee member, I'll support and drive opportunities and analyze hiring practices to make sure that there's inclusion. Fred said it, you know, when you walk into a room, when you're looking up to people, you feel more comfortable when you're included and there's people that are like you there. We still have a long way to go as an institution. We have a long way to go as society, but I believe collectively we can get there. I also want to piggyback on what Fred said about our Sheriff's Academy. We have a tremendous opportunity with that training ground there to help community relations, to have a community style of policing, if you will, to make sure that our citizens are safe, but make sure our officers are safe. And I think that we could be groundbreaking in that opportunity by developing programs there with that Sheriff's Academy. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. And we will now hear from Mr. Danielson. Mr. Danielson, let me go ahead and spotlight your video and reset the timer. And would you like me to read the question over?
Actually, yes, I would.
Absolutely. In the past few years, political tensions and race relations have been tense across the country. What do you feel should be the role of a trustee member to ensure students feel comfortable coming to class?
Okay, so
And
the question is about students. And of course, students come to COC with aspirations. They're trying to better their lives, and you have to hand it to them. Sometimes that's not easy. They don't come to COC or any school equally. Different people have had different kinds of opportunities prior to going to school. So what I haven't heard here yet is equity means allocating resources to those with the greatest needs. So some of the students might have greater needs than other students. I believe it's not a question of are the students college ready, but rather is the college student ready? Because education is not a handout, it's a hand up. We want to help those people who need it the most. And once again, the students are trying to better their lives. And it's not, if somebody is jobless or homeless, it's not a question of them being lazy. It's a question of them trying to get themselves out of that situation. And that's why they're going to school. So again, equity means allocating resources to those with the greatest needs. So the board can help determine policy that places better equity in place. And I believe listening is a very important part. It's been brought up that we need to listen to the students, to the ASG, the people who are actually living it in the school, the people who are actually experiencing day-to-day classes, day-to-day online now, day-to-day when they're on campus. What are some of the things they're experiencing? What are the needs that they have? Are some of the deficits they face because they're people of color? Is some of it because they start out less financially advantageous than others? Those kind of things matter because, again, we want everybody to succeed as much as possible. And that's why COC is a great place. So that's what I believe the board can do, is listen and be in touch with the students. So thank you.
thank you, Mr. Danielson. I'm going to go ahead and stop that. And we are going to move on to what is going to be our final question before closing statements. And that question is, what is your understanding of the concept of collegial consultation? And what is your view on how various campus groups and campus members should be involved in the decision-making process of the college? And we're going to start off with Ms. Jenkins. Let me go ahead and showcase your video and reset the timer. And Ms. Jenkins, you're on mute, so if you want to unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. The floor is yours.
Okay, so I've been on the board long enough that I was actually on the board when we established the, when I say we, I mean the state established the collegial consultation process. That was formalized with Assembly Bill in 1988 called 1725. Anybody that's been involved with community colleges as a staff member or as a trustee certainly knows about that bill because it's still referred to. And it created rules around decision making. And it created the rule that everyone had a role in decision making. COC has pretty much always done that anyway, but that was formalized and established, as I said, by law. And it doesn't create 100% agreement. It doesn't ask for that, but just the best decision that can ultimately be made. I think that what happens sometimes is with some decisions that are made, people believe that when they give their input, unless the decision reflects directly what their input was, that their input wasn't valued. That's not necessarily true. And sometimes, frankly, sometimes in some instances, employees have used those committees and consultation to kind of forward hidden agendas, and that's not appropriate either. But we are fully committed to the idea of this collegial consultation, and we really make an effort to make sure that everyone is involved. And save for a couple of very small, one or two committees that don't have a direct impact on students necessarily, Students are included on those committees in addition. And we're fortunate. We've always had active students who generally, when they're assigned to a committee, they go to the meetings, they are involved. And so that's a good thing for students to have that experience. I think that carries them onward and upward in their careers. I still have communication with a lot of the former student trustees. Actually, a number of them have, as I said earlier, have endorsed me, and most of them have gone on to their four-year schools and continue their activeness in student government, if you will. And so that's a good thing for students to do. That gives them life experience that they can carry on with them to jobs in the future. So I'm glad that we have that. And as I said, the students, the unions and the academic senate all participate in the decisions. So and we have never, as a board, never had a recommendation brought to us through collegial consultation that we haven't adopted. And I'm pleased to have voted yes on every one of those recommendations. But that just because someone, as I said, I think I'd wrap up with this, that just because someone does not get what they want, it doesn't mean they didn't get to be part of the conversation. I think it's frustrating for them, but that doesn't mean that they weren't heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Second, we'd like to hear from Mr. Danielson. Mr. Danielson, let me go ahead and give you the spotlight, reset your timer. And would you like me to reread the question?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I think I got it.
Yeah, all righty. And the timer is started. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. So shared governance is the law, and the academic senate reports to the board after they work very hard at deliberating, setting their own policies, going over all the possibilities. And I've attended academic senate meetings pretty regularly, so I appreciate what they do. I also feel like there should be more than that. I think that the classified needs to be listened to all the time. The ASG needs to be listened to all the time. And I believe the adjunct have some very real issues that are not hidden agendas, but actually are transparent. They've made it very clear what, if they're working very hard and they feel a certain way about their pay rate, they feel a certain way about the fact that they are 75% of the teachers and they teach 50% of the classes, and they've made that very clear. There's no hidden agenda there. And the academic senate, again, anybody can chime into their Zoom meetings and see what's going on. So I appreciate what they do. They really care for the students. They really want to do the best job possible for the school, for themselves, of course, as teachers, to have the best tools necessary. And it all boils down to the students. So if you take out Occam's razor, you see that there is a college that exists. Why does the college exist? It exists for the students to learn, to learn not only vocational job training, as we have discussed, but as a transfer to other colleges. And that's very meaningful and important as well. So we need to do the best job possible for them. And that means the board needs to listen to all the different parts involved and form a true partnership with the students and the staff and the faculty to really help guide the college to be the very best thing that it could possibly be. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Thank you, Mr. Danielson. Next, we will have Mr. Watson. Mr. Watson, let me go ahead and showcase your video and restart the timer. All righty, sir. Would you like me to reread the question?
I'm okay. Thank you, David.
Great. And I'll set the timer. The floor is yours.
Perfect. Thank you. Michelle referenced Assembly Bill 1725. I do embrace that concept. I do embrace the concept of collegial consultation. And there's student representation and faculty representation on many committees. Several collegial consultation committees have that representation now. There's a head of each committee, and one of the things that I think I would advocate for, if I were in the board, is more voices, louder voices, and additional representation from not only students, but also the faculty. I would also want to make sure that I keep my finger on the pulse of those committees, if you will, to gauge which ones are being active, to gauge which ones are not being active. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, if there's a committee that's not bringing recommendations, then maybe there's a disconnect with that committee. Maybe somebody's not getting heard. Maybe there's not proper communication there. And as a Board of Trustee member, I would want to make sure that we fix that and work through the channels so that those voices can be heard, so that they can become more involved and that red tape can be removed. I also want to be involved in how often these recommendations are brought to the chancellor, how often these are presented to the board, how many are rejected, although I'm not sure how many are or not, but also how many are embraced and how many do we get to hear about. I believe in an open door policy. I'll always have an open mind. I'm an active listener, and no matter what group it's coming from, I'm going to be open-minded to listen to them. And I'll make a commitment now that I'll work with anyone and everyone to ensure the success of our students and that the voice of our students and faculty are heard.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Watson. Next, we have Mr. Cazares. Let me go ahead and showcase your video. You can unmute yourself for me. Awesome. And you have the floor. Your 3 minutes starts.
Thank you, David. This is an excellent question. And I think, I believe actually, or no, I know in fact, that in order to have true collegial consultation, in order for there to be a shared governance and for us to embody that goal, there has to be some actual action behind it. It is more than just rhetoric. Budgets are also value systems. Our actions are also reflective of our values. So if we're going to be talking about collegial consultation and representing the needs of everybody, we're going to have some difficult conversations on that. Are we really sending the message that we value collegial consultation when our part-time faculty are paid some of the worst in the state of California and some of the worst in our region for California community colleges, while administrators increasingly get bonuses and increasing pay, and there's 2 administrators per faculty? Now, when I say that, again, I don't mean that to disrespect anybody. I had a great relationship with many people on Adamant. I have a huge chunk of respect for a lot of individuals. But if we're looking at decision-making happening and we're talking about empowering and uplifting all groups on campus, we got to recognize that our actions as Board of Trustees, what we approve, what we choose in the budget, what we decide upon, that really does matter. You know, the National Association of Counselors recommends that we have a counseling ratio for all academic institutions to be about 250 to 1. And COC is about 500 to 1. And so I think it's really important that we recognize that there's a lot of disparities happening in decision making. And so not only just on an employee or faculty kind of basis, when we're talking about our priorities, are taxpayer dollars going into faculty? Are they going into part-time faculty benefits? Are they going into counselors? Are they going into student services? But I think this concept of shared governance isn't just important with AB 1725 with the academic senate, but this is important on a student level. Not just at COC, but across the basis. And for all the statewide leaders I've interacted with on the California Community College level, whether it be on the Board of Governors or whether it be for the California Community College League, the student trustee on that position, and these were actually individuals who decided to support my campaign too, because it's not just COC, but we see a statewide issue of students not being heard in decision-making procedures, whether it's on the statewide financial budget committee, or whether it's on a variety of aspects in institutional reforms or just democratic procedures. And there's a reason why a variety of student senates have backed this idea of the Assembly bill, I believe by Berman, to give the student trustee an actual vote in decision-making. So we have to realize for this true effort of collegial consultation, we have to do more than just say rhetoric and so on. We got to have honest, difficult conversations and recognize that we need to put some teeth behind it, behind supporting our faculty, behind supporting our educators, and doing more than just telling our students you deserve a voice, but uplifting them and putting real reforms to make sure that we have a say in civic engagement and that we expand our ASG program to make sure that they're the leaders that they deserve to be and respected as much as they deserve to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cazares. Let's see here. Next, Mr. Arnold, Let me go ahead and spotlight your video. Reset the timer. And would you like me to reread the question, sir?
No, I've got it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Your timer has started and the floor is yours.
Thanks, David. Let's talk about collegial consultation and the right to be heard. My opponent just addressed something very important, and that is the value system based on our budget. I was shocked to learn that 90% of our budget goes to salaries and benefits. So we're absolutely putting our money where our mouth is. We have first-in-class students. We have first-in-class vocational opportunities and certificates, and first-in-class job training, because we put our money where our mouth is. Now, yes, we do reserve 9 to 10% of our budget for a rainy day like today, but thank God we do. So let's talk about the right to be heard. I am so proud that the college has adopted this and encourages 4 students, 4 staff, and 4 faculty to be on every one of these committees. Now it's up to the committee chairs. We want to encourage them. Go diverse, go deep, find those that you think can really contribute, and then take the information back to the masses. That's how we're going to have real change, and that's how we're going to get a real input from so many. You talk about strategic planning, the budget, facilities. These are all welcome discussions. I'm also, and a word or two has been said about the trustees, and I know Michael Berger personally, and Steve Zimmer and Michelle for years. They're personal friends, and their work in the community has been second to none. And I will say they value everybody's decision in listening. There's 2 meetings a year with the Academic Senate, and from what I'm told, they implement almost every recommendation. I think there was one years ago about putting some type of collar on an infestation of squirrels, and that was the only thing that wasn't implemented. I mean, the students, the ASG, I'm proud that the trustees meet with them twice a year and take their recommendations very seriously. So I want to continue to do that. My friend recently went and visited with the Pope. He had this opportunity. He asked him, he says, how do you do it all? And the Pope gave some wise advice. And he said, because I listen. And we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. I'm not going to be banging at the pulpit. I'm going to be listening on how we can better. I'm going to be seeking feedback, because that's what you do when you're a responsible trustee and you're ready for the job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. We're going to stop that. And we're going to hear from Dr. Alonso. Dr. Alonso, let me go ahead and spotlight your video and reset the timer. Would you like me to reread the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. Dr. Alonso, what is your understanding of the concept of collegial consultation, and what is your view about how various campus groups and campus members should be involved in the decision-making process of the college? I'll go ahead and start the timer, and the floor is yours.
And so, as others have said, according to Education Code Title 5, which is based on Assembly Bill 1725, and everyone else has mentioned the law, the concept of collegial consultation refers to the fact that the Board of Trustees relies on the advice of the faculty through the work of the Academic Senate in 10 areas of faculty professional expertise, such as, for example, the development of curriculum and new programs, grading policies, graduation requirements, standards of student success, program review, and other professional matters. There are other ways of involving all the employee groups in the decision-making process, and they include having both the full-time and part-time faculty, as well as the classified employees appointed by their respective groups to serve on all the college committees that advise the chancellor. And then through the chancellor, that advice comes to the board. I am especially pleased that COC has a very robust academic senate, and I am more than happy to see that the classified senate is becoming just as robust now, and I wish them well in this endeavor. I like to attend both those senate meetings so that I can learn directly from those employee groups what issues and concerns they discuss. But the students need to be more involved too. And it's been my view that ASG students who are their elected representatives, student representatives, sometimes are viewed more as ambassadors for the college and less like an equal partner at the college for governing and decision-making. I would like them to have a greater voice in those efforts and be viewed as true partners. This is an educational institution, a public educational institution, and as such, it cannot be run like a business. Although there are many business aspects of it because we have an over $300 billion budget, when it comes to education, academics believe in discourse, in questioning and answer, in participating in discussion to clarify issues and to better the situation by allowing input for everyone involved, to the benefit of everyone on that campus. So collegial consultation by law is limited to the academic senate, but in fact, it's something that should include all employee groups, including the administrators, the students, and everyone else on that campus to reach decisions that affect the daily lives and the success of everyone at that college site.
Thank you, Dr. Alonso. We have come to the conclusion of our questions, and we are going to start closing statements. We will start with Mr. Danielson for closing statements. So Mr. Danielson, let me go ahead and spotlight your video. You are on mute, just heads up, and we'll restart your timer. You have 3 minutes for your closing statement, sir, and the floor is yours.
Well, thanks again for taking the time to do this town hall. COC helped me realize I could turn my passion into my profession if we acquire a certain body of knowledge and achieve a certain proficiency, then we can make a living doing something we love. I also want to add, I have a long history of sponsoring and organizing local events such as concerts, fundraisers, recitals, and more. I co-founded the Santa Clarita Valley Poets, and I've advocated awareness for the handicapped. I'm also an award-winning music producer, and one of our goals, I believe, should be to elevate the role of fine arts at COC and ensure the Performing Arts Center is utilized to its full potential by the college and the community. Electing me would mean that for the first time, the entertainment and arts community would be represented on the COC Board of Trustees. Effective board members must be at once fearless advocates, armed with a nuanced understanding of the local and national landscape, able to build and sustain productive relationships across constituent groups to help advance the school's agenda, and when necessary, an agitator who's willing to challenge outdated and unproductive thinking and systems to ensure student and school success. Start with an open mind and open ears. Listen to everyone in the spirit of true partnership, and the best idea wins. I'm honored to have the endorsement of 2 sitting board members, Edel Alonso and Joan McGregor. Earlier, I called myself the teacher's choice candidate. That's because I've been through a thorough, rigorous, and lengthy process to earn the endorsement of the COC Faculty Association, the Part-Time Faculty United at College of the Canyons, the California Teachers Association, COC Classified Staff, and the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. That means a lot and speaks volumes. Please go to my website for a long list of topics and other endorsements. Jerry Danielson for cocboard.com. My goal is for the college to thrive and grow and be the very best. So in a spirit of gratitude and motivated by a desire to serve our community and our college, I respectfully ask for your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Danielson. Next, we'll have Mr. Watson. Let me go ahead and spotlight your video, and you are muted. So let's, and I'll reset the clock. There you go. All righty, and I will start the clock, and the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, David. Again, thank you everybody for taking the time to not only put this on, the other candidates to be here present, but also everybody listening. I want to remind everybody that first and foremost, I'm about student success, and I'm about student success leading to good jobs. Second, I'm about using my community partnerships to lead to some of those good jobs. Third, I'm about a healthy working relationship with the foundation board to continue to increase our funding. Now, my opponent and I, we both love COC, we both love the faculty, we both love the students, but I have the leadership skills and the business acumen necessary for this board. I'm not the only one that feels that way. If you look at the group of bipartisan endorsements of proven leaders that know me and that have worked with me, federal leaders like Congressman Mike Garcia, former chairman of the House Committee on Education, Buck McKeon, law enforcement leaders that believe that I have the skills to work with them regarding campus safety, ALADS, the Los Angeles Police Protective League, District Attorney Jackie Lacey, former District Attorney Steve Cooley, business leaderships and relationships necessary within this community, like the Chamber of Commerce, the Valley Industrial Association, Brian Kegley, Greg Amsler, Frank DiTomaso, Hunt Brawley, Tom Dirkman, community leaders that trust me to maintain that standard of excellence at COC. Scott Milk, Mayor Cameron Smythe, K-Hits, The Signal. In fact, the majority of our city council, the majority of the William S. Hart School Board, the majority of the COC Board of Trustees. In fact, aside from my opponent, 3 out of the 4 current board members on COC's Board of Trustees think that I'll do a better job than the incumbent. That speaks volumes. I'm Tony Watson and I'm running for seat 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watson. Next up, we will have Dr. Alonso. Dr. Alonso, give me a second to spotlight your video and reset the clock. Okay, Dr. Alonso, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you so much, David. You know, I am currently the only educator on the Board of Trustees, and I value the differences that the different members of the board bring to the board. But I hope that the community understands how important it is to have that diversity, that we should not have all business people on the board. So I think I bring to my role as a trustee a deep understanding of how COC works, knowing well all the board policies and procedures, the budget development process, all the educational programs we offer, our student services, and the work of our economic development division. That is why I can travel to Sacramento with other community leaders to advocate for COC and our students. I believe that every decision the board members make needs to be made with students in mind, front and center. That is why having a student trustee representing the student body on the board is so crucial to what we do. We must always ask ourselves how our decisions affect students, and we can do this if administration, faculty, staff, and students feel that we are all bound in a common purpose to help our students grow intellectually and socially, develop career skills, and find their individual strengths and passions to carry them into the future, equipped with confidence so they can achieve their own definition of success. I love COC, and I believe that I am uniquely qualified to serve for a second term on the Board of Trustees. I started giving you this evening a long list of 8 values and priorities and hope that you will remember those. I humbly ask for your support and your vote in these elections, but know that I do not take you for granted. I will always listen to you just as I listened to my students when I was a counselor, trying to understand the issues, discussing options, asking questions, and clarifying for possible solutions. I will always be honest with you, telling you what I think, what I know, as well as what I don't know. I will be diligent about the work on the board with an eye to the integrity and honesty of the college. I am honest, hardworking, and committed, but with every decision, I will always put the needs of our students first. I want to thank ASG for this opportunity and for your consideration. Thank you for all the candidates for participating tonight. And my thanks to the 3 employee groups, full-time faculty, part-time faculty, and classified employees, as well as the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges for your formal endorsement of my campaign for seat number 2. I invite you to visit my website at edelalonso.com so that you can see the long list of Santa Clarita community members who support my campaign and to see in much more detail my views on many issues affecting the college. Thank you again to ASG.
Thank
And
you.
everyone who watched, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Alonso. Next up, we have Ms. Jenkins, and I'll go ahead and spotlight your video and reset the timer. Ms. Jenkins, you have 3 minutes. Oh, by the way, you are muted, so if you'd like to unmute. Great, and I will start the timer, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be able to give a final statement, and I appreciate the opportunity. You know, for myself, I believe that I'm a really good amalgamation of an educator background, which I certainly have. I worked at a community college extensively. I actually taught classes there too. And I was a community college student, and it enabled me to transfer to one of the top institutions in the country, where I earned honors upon graduating from UCLA and was able to earn a master's degree with no fees because of my academic success at UCLA. So I feel I'm a really good amalgamation of that, as well as a business person, because my husband, as I said, is a private practice as a physician on Lyons Avenue, same office for a lot of years. And I think sometimes individuals forget that physicians in private practice are also business people. He operates his office himself. So he's a business owner. I help him do that. He is the official owner of the practice. You have to be a physician to own to actually be listed as an owner, but I help him administratively run the office. So I do have that background. I've participated in lots of community organizations. I'm a really active member of the League of Women Voters. Actually, myself and one of the professors at COC actually established and were granted the ability to have a local branch. The closest one previous to our establishment of the local branch was in Burbank. And that's the League of Women Voters is a very good source, just as a sidelight. If you'd like to get some information on the propositions on the ballot, the League does not take positions on candidates. They only do on issues. So you can check their website out and get that help. But I'm really glad that I am also really proud of the fact that we have our Sheriff's Academy at the college. I'm proud of that because the sheriffs are of course, our local law enforcement agency. I've attended a number of their graduations. I'm grateful for their presence, and I often see them on campus, and I admire them, and I try to express that to them because I know how important that is to people who work in that field. There's lately been so many protests of anger against even our local sheriff's department that I think that we need to support them, and that's what I try to do. And I have been involved in other organizations in the community, Seroptimus, American Association of University Women. And I mention all of that because all of those involvements have helped make me the person I am and have given me reach throughout the community. So I would appreciate your vote on either right now, you could vote now, or if I'm on your ballot, please do vote for me, Michelle Jenkins, and I am running for re-election, and I hope to be re-elected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Next up, we have Mr. Cazares. Mr. Cazares, let me spotlight your video. And let me reset your timer. And the floor is yours.
Thank you, David. Thank you to ASG. Thank you to everyone who attended this, everybody who's watching, everyone that's caring about this election. A lot of times we brush over down ballot elections, but we recognize that local elections like these are critical to the future of our community, to the future of public education. This is a crucial race, especially now during a time when public education has seen some of the biggest challenges it has ever occurred or it has ever endured in modern history. My name is Sebastian Gaseres. You can find out more about me at gaseresforcoc.com. A lot of discussions have gone on this debate, or I should say town hall, and I'm very excited to see the passion and the discussions on student issues and all these kinds of things. We've mentioned committees and transfer pathways and all these kinds of issues. But we got to have some honest conversations here. And it's just the reality that individuals who have been running or who are on the board of trustees either have never attended COC, or if they have, it's been for 30, 40 years, et cetera. I have a fresh on the ground perspective. I've been supported by the most recent official voices of our student body, and I can bring an actual real point of view of what it's really like to transfer, what it's really like to go to the basic needs center, what it's really like to go to the counselor's office, what it's like to be in the first year promise program, what it's like to be a first-time student or a part-time student, what it's like to see educational success, what it's like to teach online classes and serve my own students, what it's like to be a public servant as someone with a history of advocacy. And I'm running to bring that perspective on the board of trustees. And I think that that's important. I think that that student perspective is what we need in public service. It's what we need by our elected officials. So many of our elected officials and our public servants, our society has lost faith in so many of them. And I think that student perspective is what we need, especially in a public education body like this, especially because it is the main purpose of this body is to serve students. And so in my view, I believe that a student viewpoint of not only someone who has an experience of leadership and wants to lead the future of COC and to tackle the challenge we have ahead, but not just that, but is open to learn, is open to new perspectives, is open to listening to others, is opening to challenging one's thoughts, is open to studying and being excited and providing that idea of knowledge and education first and students first. I'm running to put students and educators first, not bureaucracy. I'm running to fight for the students with everything I've got, not just internally, but on a federal and statewide level. I'm running to make sure that we can tackle the challenges ahead. I don't need neat talking points to understand what students need. I lived it. And I was resoundingly voted by our student body in one of the most unprecedented student voter turnouts to be their main voice and advocate. And I aim to continue that leadership. And I'm proud to be the only candidate that is supported by our educators and our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Cazares. And Mr. Arnold, let me go ahead and spotlight your video and reset the timer. And sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, David. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you all, the other 5 candidates, for having a spirited debate and conversation. I want to talk real quickly about jobs in the community, because we've done a fantastic job first in class when it comes to helping those get to the higher level, get into that 4-year university. You know, this isn't your dad's community college. This is a new breed, and great success has happened because of the commitment of our full-time faculty and our adjuncts. But right now, we're going to come out of this pandemic and this slowdown, and you're all going to have your jobs. Many jobs are going to be there, but there's going to be 8 to 10% of those in our community that their jobs will not come back. And I am uniquely qualified as the former chairman of the Chamber of Commerce and a business person who's hired so many people. And I've lived through 4 recessions in my last 30 years, which has prepared me. And let me tell you, I've made a lot of mistakes and had a lot of successes. But we have to, as a community college, make sure those individuals don't get left behind. And nobody talked about that tonight, and other than Tony and Michelle. And I think that's very, very important. We don't forget them because we are a community college. You know, I want to continue to Canyon Promise. What a great thing. I was on the board of the foundation over the last 7 years who created that opportunity so my opponent can take advantage of that program. I'm so glad he did. He's on to some great things when he goes to UCLA. And I'm really glad we can continue to push that along. I want to advocate for COC in Sacramento. For the past 20 years, I've been advocating for my industry, for fairer lending laws, to help protect those that certainly have been dealt an unfair lending practice. And I'm going to fight for our budget, and I'm going to fight for resources for our students and our faculty and our staff, because I've done it and I have the experience that I've done it. Now, I can tell you about all my endorsements in the business community and so forth, but it's not about that. It's about those that we're serving for student success. And I want to mention something that's very important. We all have opinions, and many of us have positions. And as a trustee, I will never have a position, because when you have a position, you cannot budge and listen to other people's opinion. And so I vow as a trustee to listen, to receive feedback, to not have a position, and to listen to everybody's opinion, without a doubt. And last but not least, I'm not led or pushed by any one group. I'm led by the consciousness that I have, and the consciousness knowing my 4 children are watching everything I'm doing. And every day I need to make decisions that are sometimes difficult and challenging, but decisions I know that when I see them at the end of the day, they were the right decisions for the right reasons. My name's Fred Arnold. I'm running for the Board of Trustees in Area 3, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Great. And that will do it for us, everyone. Thank you so much to all of our candidates who agreed to be here. And that's all the candidates that are available, actually. So thank you very much for each and every one of you for caring about the COC community in such a way that you are willing to give your time, your efforts, and your services. Thank you again very, very much. Just as a reminder, this will be available on Facebook Live. It will eventually be available on YouTube, so it will be shareable. I welcome you to, I was actually, while we were speaking, looking at the Facebook Live, lots of questions, lots of comments. I urge every single one of you to look at it and look at the questions and respond if you'd like, or try to touch base with those people because everyone there seems to have very, very valid questions. Again, thank you so much. And I wish you, and on behalf of the Associated Student Government of College of the Canyons, I wish all of you the best of luck and a wonderful night. Thank you all. Really
David, great job. Thank you. Thank you,
it.
David.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have
Thank
a great night.
Everybody.
All righty.